I tell you what, like Endymion, you mentioned Assassin's Creed. We should probably just dive into it. I think it's time, right? Because I spent the last couple hours subjecting myself to it before we started streaming this, and wow, what an experience that was! God,
were you just watching cutscenes or were you playing it?
I mean, like, I'd like to say I was playing it, but it was mostly just cutscenes. That's all the game offers you, really.
Did you make it to the hideout yet, or like, are you in the open world yet? Like, where are you?
We're not in the open. I've got to go back to what the fuck's her name? Like the mother of the strong female lead.
Okay, so you just got saved by the priest and then the boy.
Yeah, I got saved by the priest and then did the flashback to like the battle scene and stuff, and now I've just arrived back at her house.
By the way, that priest, that little boy is not really. I'll answer that right now. Not really. It's a little bit janky. It looks nice. I'm playing on PS5 Pro, so I don't know if that has to make it look better. Apparently, that's the best version of it, but
the lighting was weird in the version I played.
It's a nice looking game. Combat wise, in my opinion, so far from what I've played, it's nothing special. Like you play as Yasuke first. Basically, the game starts. Just to recap quickly, you get there. The Portuguese get there. They bring Yasuke. Oda Nobunaga takes Yasuke with him, and then the game jumps forward 6 months later. And now Yasuke's a warrior pretty much right away. He has a samurai armor, all that stuff. You go fight people. And the game actually starts off, it's not really spoiler to say this, but it starts off with Oda Nobunaga's people basically burning down Naoe, the Asian assassin leading the game, her family kind of stronghold. And that's kind of like where it starts. Playing as Yasuke, it doesn't feel like you're playing in an Assassin's Creed game, to be honest with you. It just feels like you're playing, Always Sunny. Ghost of Tsushima is so much. Look, I've 100%ed Ghost of Tsushima. I love that game. This does not hold a candle to Tsushima in any way. And I think Drinker, because you're not in the open world just yet, but you will notice when you do go into the open world, I just want you to go off go off the road and just try to climb the grassy walls and stuff, and you'll notice that the game will just keep funneling you back to the road. You're not actually able to climb a lot of the things that are around you, because the game wants to funnel you into these like road pathways to every location, instead of like previous Assassin's Creed games. For example, in Valhalla, you can climb anything, Eivor can climb it. This one you can't.
This is the thing. Like, if you got to get from location to location, you can it'll show as a dot on your HUD anyway, like to give you a rough bearing on where you need to go. But you can also enable like tracking so that it'll literally paint a line on the ground that you need to follow. And I think at that point you might as well just press X to get there, because like what's the point in like delaying it? It's just you're just essentially following a line on a map. Like what's that accomplishing?
It feels very claustrophobic despite it being open world. It might just be like an open area thing, but there's a lot of trees. And everything feels very like fenced in, and it really just wants to funnel you down these pathways of like, you're going to go here, you're not going to go off the beaten path yet. And I personally find that annoying from an Assassin's Creed point of view, because I've played all of the mainline ones. I consider them my junk food game, if you will. Like for some people it's Call of Duty. For me, it's Assassin's Creed. And as someone who's very intimately like well aware of what these games are like, Shadow so far honestly hasn't really convinced me. The stealth mechanics are better in a way, because, for example, now you can hold down square, you can go prone into the grass, and you're kind of like Metal Gear Solid, like slinking through the grass and stuff. That's pretty cool. But the problem here is that, like, if you want to have a traditional Assassin's Creed adventure, you're just going to play as Naoe, because as soon as you play as Yasuke, it's not an Assassin's Creed game anymore. It's just a really bad God of War clone. That's the best way I can put it.
Well, yeah, he's a tank, basically, isn't he? Because he can charge through doors and everything. He's not even an assassin. He's not even an assassin. He doesn't get the hidden blade. It's very weird because Yasuke has access to range weaponry like bows and such, but Naoe, who's apparently a shinobi, is not able to use a bow in the game. She can only use like throwing knives, smoke bombs, and then she has like her hidden blade and stuff. So they kind of just took the camera's too close. I agree with that too. It's constantly getting in the way when I'm fighting stuff too. Yes.
Yeah. It's not like I said, so far, like what I've played, I'm not trying to be like, I know some people might say like, oh, he's just trying to hate on the game. Like, no, I genuinely like, why would I want Assassin's Creed to be bad? I like Assassin's Creed. I like those games. I've 100%ed plenty of them. Why would I want Shadows to be a bad game? But unfortunately, it's just mid. It is what it is, right? Like I 100%ed Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Why would I want that game to be bad? But unfortunately, I played it and I was like, it's not that great. Like it's passable at best, So I don't know. The culture war surrounding Assassin's Creed has been kind of very sickening in a lot of ways, because a lot of people are like, going at each other's throats a lot. But at the end of the day, I just think like we just want better games, And ultimately, if you want a great open world Japanese game, go play Ghost of Tsushima, go play Rise of the Ronin. That just came out on PC as well. Although I heard it's not performing very well, like performance wise, like actually running the game. But Rise of the Ronin, that was also a very fun open world Japanese action RPG game made by Team Ninja, the people that made Neo and stuff. But so far with Shadows, I'm just not impressed. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not impressed. I think Odyssey's better. I think Valhalla's better than it still. I think Origins is far superior than it. Mirage is fine. I guess the game's kind of whatever. But this is, to me, in terms of like the RPG era of Assassin's Creed, this one so far feels the most like, what are we doing here kind of game. Like kind of a waste of time.
I think it's definitely copping a lot of flack as well for like the things like the romance angles, where, as I understand it, there's like 4 different romances you can pursue in this. One of them is a heterosexual romance, and the other 3 are either gay or with a non-binary character.
Yeah.
Which is wow, that's quite a weighting there.
Ubisoft has an option in the game called canon mode. You turn that on, and then you don't have to make any decisions in the game anymore. The game makes all the decisions for you in terms of this is like the canon choices. So canon mode choice wise, Naoe is lesbian canon. That's just, if you put it on, that's what she becomes.
She is.
Of course she is. Because no man can tame.
Wait, the default is she's a lesbian?
Default, yeah. I know.
Modern gaming,
and then the default romance for Yasuke is actually worse, because it's Lady Oichi or Ochi, however you say her name. She's considered the mother of Japan, like in real life. She was the younger sister of Oda Nobunaga. That's the guy that bought Yasuke. So her being the canon romance of Yasuke makes zero sense, because if you actually look up her history,
I'm going to bring up the scene. I'll put it on mute so while you're talking, so people can see it.
So
right?
Lady Ochi is basically like, this is like, she's basically a princess. Like she has heirs that have gone on to become prominent figures in Japanese history. And then Yasuke's apparently her main love interest, but historically she had one husband who died when he was really young, so then she got married again. And then her second husband, she ends up dying with him. This isn't spoilers, it's just like real life history. Her and her husband die because their kingdom gets attacked by other rival factions, and she does not want to leave her husband's side because she's so devoted to him. And you're telling me that this woman, who was historically shown to be so devoted to her husband that she was willing to die with him, is cheating on him repeatedly with this guy? Like, come on, guys. Like, it's just like, the thing about Yasuke is he has been in other games, but like other games that have had him has been more of like fantasy-esque. Like he was in Neo 2, but he was only a boss battle. But here, having Yasuke as an actual playable main character in a game called Assassin's Creed, it is genuinely one of the worst decisions I think they've ever made. And I implore people to go watch a review from like Skill Up. Skill Up even says in his review that he had for this that came out today that like Yasuke is just pointless. Like, just as a character being there, he's just completely pointless. And it's not because he's black or anything like that. Like, I loved Bayek. He was voiced by a black guy, Abubakar Salim. He's in House of the Dragon and stuff. Like, it's nothing to do with the skin color. It's everything to do with the fact that like the dude's just not an assassin. Like, he's not. He can't climb stuff really. He can't do stealth kills. If he stealth kills someone, it's super loud. So it's like, why are we playing a character that's just not an assassin in an Assassin's Creed game? That's just utterly pointless. And a lot of the reviews are saying that like, if you want to play Assassin's Creed in this game, stick to Naoe and just ignore Yasuke as much as you can, because he's just not only is he stupid, but he's also broken to play as, overpowered.
So when the game opens up a bit, can you just switch between them at will? Is that
not right away. No. So you play as Naoe for quite a few hours, and you're kind of thrown into the open world, and she's the one that you kind of get introduced to all the mechanics of the game, like the hideouts and whatnot. And then eventually you will unlock Yasuke again, and then you can pick whoever you want. But then that brings up another problem, which is that Yasuke cannot. So people know that in Assassin's Creed games, there's the giant towers you synchronize, right? You climb to the top, big 360 view, and then you get like, that part of the map gets opened up, and then you can see stuff. So if you play Yasuke, most of those synchronization points, you cannot actually climb as Yasuke. You have to be playing Naoe because you need the grappling hook to because the way Japanese architecture is done, right? We know it's like it goes out, then in, then out, then in. It's impossible to climb without the grappling hook. And again, Yasuke doesn't have that. So if you want to explore the world, you basically have to play Naoe. Otherwise, you play Naoe, get to a synchronization point, go into the menu, switch to Yasuke, reload the game. Now you're Yasuke, then you're Naoe. Climb there, come down, then become Yasuke, and then do other stuff. But in a game called Assassin's Creed, you should be wanting to do assassin stuff. But with Yasuke, it just feels like you're playing, I don't know, like just like a generic action game, I guess.
I mean, the thing is, are the other Assassin's Creed games so plot heavy? Because I kind of imagine they would just be like going to the next mission, taking out the next target, and then moving on with a bit of story.
That's what Shadows ends up becoming too. Shadows is like, the problem with Shadows is that they're not really able to tell a very cohesive story because the way that the game is structured, because there's two protagonists, it's very hard for them to actually tell a story that matters in a sense. And what ends up happening, if you watch a lot of reviews, again, Skills Review is really great for this too, is that he says too, of course I'm not there yet, but he says in the last 5 hours of the game, that's where the story finally comes together, which has been a very long problem with not just this game, but like almost every game that Ubisoft has made, where it's like the story matters in the beginning for maybe about an hour, and then there's this massive middle part of the game that has like no real meaning really, and then it kind of just wraps things up really fast at the end, and then credits, and that's it. And this is again the same thing. So like Grums just posted the final boss to Assassin's Creed Shadows. He's like, it's not a spoiler, who cares? I'm not going to say what it is, but when I saw it, I was just kind of like, of course that's what it is. You know what I mean? Like, it's just propaganda again on full display, and it's just so painfully generic that you can tell that this game was nothing. Yeah, this is the non-binary love interest for Yasuke.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Play the audio. Play the audio. Play the audio.
You want to hear it?
Yeah, play the audio. It's awful.
Do you think someone might see us?
Maybe.
So yeah, you do have a couple of romance options, but like I was saying, I think 3 of them are gay and 1 of them is straight. So it's like,
is that
which array do they want us to go?
No, it's just a guy who thinks he's not man or woman, I guess.
I just kind of wonder, like, was that a thing that was widely accepted in feudal Japan? I just kind of feel like
the thing about Japan is like they were open about these things. Like they have this whole here we go. They have this whole thing in Japan where like I forgot what it's called, but there's a lady that worked on the game. Her name is I can't remember her first name, but her last name is Schmidt Hori, and she wrote this book about like this ancient tradition apparently where like old Japanese monks would keep the company of like young boys, and these young boys would be trained to become monks, but the young boys would also have to be like, as bad as it sounds, forced to have SCX with these old Japanese monks, and it was like a whole thing apparently. And she got like put onto Shadows as like a consultant. So when you first play the game and you meet that old monk guy at the beginning with the little boy, immediately I'm just like, oh no. I don't know if they're insinuating yet, but like the fact that like she consulted on it, that's what she specializes in, and then that those characters are like what you meet immediately, that made me immediately like raise a red flag. Like that is just super weird. The kid Sanjiro, that's his name, the little chubby Japanese kid. So I'm just like, that's creepy, but okay. But it just like, I just feel like from playing this game, when I compare it to the other Assassin's Creeds, it's just not very good so far. And it's very, like I said, it's very linear in terms of actual exploration. The only real assassinating kind of stuff you can do is when you have these giant castles that you can kind of go around and find the targets and kill to get to the legendary chest. The combat itself just doesn't really feel like they've evolved anything in any meaningful way. And I really just hate the idea of like taking what you could have done in other games and splitting between 2 people now. Because in older games like in Odyssey, you could do everything. You could stealth kill, you could use bow and arrows, you could use longbows, you could use whatever kind of weapons you want. And in this game, it's like, no. Naoe does this, Yasuke does this, they can't do both. And it's like, why do that when we never had that really before besides Syndicate, which was another game that didn't sell very well. So, ironically. So, I just feel like the whole game is misguided. And the worst part so far, besides all of this, is just that the writing is just not very good. And I find the voice acting very bad, especially Naue. Her voice acting is just very inconsistent.
Pretty much every cutscene, like you kind of have to suffer through them. They go on forever, and the voice acting. I don't know if like the actual Japanese is better because you can switch between Japanese and like the English version. The English version is like everyone's doing like the most stereotypical like Japanese like over the top accents that you could pick.
It just reminds me of the Japanese guy from South Park. And the Chinese guy, Shitty Walk and stuff.
Yeah.
It comes to my mind when I'm like, this is just so bad.
Yeah, it's almost like fried rice.
Yeah.
Welcome to Shitty Walk. I get your order.
Yeah.
That's Mongolians bring it down my shitty wall. Yeah, like that's kind of what it sounds like to me. It just sounds more like a parody than anything else. And I'm just not impressed by it so far. There's a lot of these AAA games that come out recently that the critics seem to love them, and then I play them, and then I just kind of think like, are we playing two different games?